Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond to Iran?
Welcome to Podpinions, where the world's on fire, and we show up like it's a backyard barbecue. Politicians roasted. Woke trends torched. Common sense, we got you covered.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Podpinions.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Bruce.
And here we are for another jam-packed news week. Not Newsweek the magazine,
right.
A news week.
We should start doing news by the hour.
Yeah, right. No, news by the minute.
It's unbelievable.
What just happened now?
Oh my goodness. Well, of course, this morning the world, the F-bomb the world heard.
Priceless. That's why I voted for that guy.
Yes, absolutely. I do believe the globe understands how Trump feels about all this.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you missed it, you have to. I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. It's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Where'd you find it?
Well, it's on X all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. Unedited.
Yeah.
You want the unedited one,
right? And go from the not just the last 15 seconds.
The whole
take
thing.
the 3.5 minutes
because it kind of builds up to
right
the end. But
get the whole context.
Right. But what happened was Trump was leaving for a NATO summit in the Netherlands at The Hague. And he's outside on the lawn at the White House, and the helicopters in the background, and the reporters are all screaming stupid questions at him. And he was actually answering them very concisely and succinctly. Right. And he was being nice about it.
Right.
And then it started to turn.
Well, first he put out on Truth that something about, and I'm just paraphrasing here, Israel, you better turn your planes around now.
Right.
Because they were sending them out to retaliate to one missile or something like that.
Yeah, so Iran, I guess, didn't agree, they didn't live up to the treaty.
Yeah, I believe
the ceasefire.
I believe Israel didn't either.
They kept going at it.
Yeah, and then the last thing in response was like one missile or something, and then Israel announced that they were going to send planes over, and Trump had Truth that you better not go all the way.
Well, so he got fed up, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So this one reporter asks him a question about it, and he just goes off. And it's priceless. So you have to check it out.
If you haven't seen it, maybe we could put a clip in the beginning of this. That'll be the clip to start the
episode.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So I spent all week in bed. I bronchitis. I'm just getting over it, and that sucked. But feeling better.
Good.
But I got a lot. I mean, I binged watched news all week, and not just. I was going all over the place. I mean, BBC,
right,
Fox, CNN, MSNBC.
Gotta get all perspectives.
All of them, right?
Yep.
And it was kind of interesting because the European stations, believe it or not, were pretty fair.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of down the middle about what was going on. Obviously, Fox leaned a little bit to the right. CNN and MSNBC were like, forget about it. And they were way left. But, however, I must say that what started to happen, I noticed, as things were progressing with this bombing back and forth and whatnot, and then when Trump sent the B-2s in, and they unloaded on Iran, all of a sudden their tune started to change, like big time. And all of a sudden, here we are.
Right.
And it's like he's the principal of the school, and they're all kind of kowtowing to him now.
Well, I was really kind of surprised. I mean, there was always a few out there that, AOC saying, going to impeach, and Al Green is, did that. But for the most part, it's been kind of quiet over the whole thing. I believe that he's made his point. Everybody understands exactly how he feels. There is no spinning it.
No, because it's right there. The sad part is, like, all the news networks are like bleeping that part out, and it's like it doesn't have the same impact.
Exactly. Well, it was on live TV. I mean, they were,
well, when I heard it this morning, I'm sitting there getting dressed, and it's like,
right.
What? Did I just hear that? I couldn't believe it. I started laughing hysterically. It's like, that's why I voted for this
exactly.
guy. Right there. That's it. Yeah, so you were talking about Al Green. Now, if you don't remember Al Green, he's the Democratic congressman that got thrown out of Trump's State of the Union speech.
Yeah.
He was the one that was carrying on.
Well, it wasn't technically a State of the Union, right? Because it wasn't a year after. I forget what they called it. Yeah.
Right. So it was, but State of the Union.
Right. Save the comments.
So the guy, he does this all the time. He'll sit there and scream and yell, which is really rude. I mean, I remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene did that, and they lambasted her.
Oh, yeah.
She called, who was it, Obama or somebody? She called him a liar. Or was it Biden? I forget. And so anyhow, he put this resolution in to impeach Trump, along with AOC and all these other people. And they had a vote in the House. And guess what happened?
What was the total?
Well,
the tally.
128 of the Democrats actually joined the House GOP to block the progressive lefties' bid to impeach Trump.
No kidding.
So the total vote, right, was 344 to 79.
Go figure.
Right. So the majority of the Democrats actually voted with the Republicans not to impeach Trump.
Right. Can you
They've had it.
imagine that?
Everybody has had it.
Yeah. Well, I think they see it. I mean, you can just feel it across the country. People have just had enough of all this stuff, all of it, whether it's the border, prices, gas, trying to get into forever wars across the globe that we've been secretly funding the opposition. They just I just read someplace, we'll have to look that up after the break, where Congress just passed a bill, something about defunding the Taliban. Now, why are we funding the Taliban?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
Defunding the Taliban.
Right. So
they still exist?
People have had enough, because now all the swamp is starting to drain, and all the crap is starting to float really up to the surface here. And between Doge and just everything going on as far as trying to sway the country's views on men versus women and the sports and the border, and just people just want to live their lives, and politics has gotten its tentacles into every little bit of our lives completely, and it just people's had enough.
I've had enough. I'm like completely done.
So they're probably looking at the poll numbers or the snap polls or whatever they do, and people are like, yeah, that's what he needs to do. We don't want, because my Podpinion, Israel did what it did. Trump did come out and say that he didn't back this necessarily up.
Back what up?
The Israel going in and bombing Iran. Trump didn't authorize it, basically, or back the authorize it, but he wasn't in full support of Israel doing that.
Yeah, but I think he took the mindset of, hey, look, it's your business.
Right.
It's, your problem. You deal with it.
Right. Now, we did do some support with a little bit with the missiles coming into Israel, but again, the Iron Dome was penetrated. And
Several times.
I believe his strike back at Iran was directly to Iran and not a proxy for Israel. In other words, we've been saying for years now, Iran is not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Correct.
And our strike on the nuclear facility in Iran was our strike. It wasn't to benefit Israel.
No, although quite a few of the lefties, especially my musician friends, were screaming and yelling that it is.
Well, of course, but that's not what happened because Trump said it this morning. He's pissed at Iran. He's pissed at Israel.
He's pissed at all of them.
You just got to stop.
Right.
And my first vision was Dad's driving the car and the two are in the back. Don't make me pull his car over.
Yeah, right.
And they're still going at it. And then all of a sudden, Trump this morning slammed on their brakes and they went boom.
I can't wait. Yeah, so I can't wait. Well, this whole thing unfolded. Well, when he started, I'm jumping ahead. I know I'm rambling.
Rambling.
And I'm not even in a rambler. We were talking about old cars yesterday, and Dan was talking about. I didn't realize he was a muscle car guy from way back when, but a bunch of us were talking about muscle cars from the 70s and the 60s, and he had a bunch of them, which I didn't know about, and knew everything about them and how to take them apart and fix them, and it was just cool.
Right.
So the Rambler thing came up. Anyhow, I digress. Where was I going with this? I forget. Oh, so this whole thing, the way it unfolded, as I watched it this week, when Trump said, well, he gave them 60 days to figure it out, and they didn't figure it out. So day 61, Israel attacks Iran. So now you can't tell me that wasn't pre-planned. I'm sure that our government talked to Israel and whoever else, and right? Because it just doesn't. It seemed too cut and dry. You know what I mean? So then he said, well, up to 2 weeks. Right then and there, when he said that, it's like, no,
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Right.
And sure enough, the next day, boom. But what was slick was they sent a bunch of bombers west, and the other ones that were actually
Was
doing
it Guam they were heading?
Yeah, they were going to Guam.
Right.
And it's like I'm looking at the map, and it's like, wait a minute, why would they send them to Guam? It's like, okay. But the ones that were doing the bombing went the other way,
Right.
which was 18 hours as opposed to like a million hours
Right.
going the other way. And I'm thinking, this is not going to be good for them. They're going to get creamed. And sure enough, the next day, boom.
Right. And what was interesting, too, because Iran had made the threat that if any of our sites surrounding the areas were going to bomb them, they were going to retaliate. So Trump sent them from U.S. soil over to Iran and back to U.S. soil.
Right.
And so they had no reason to retaliate to any of our bases
But
around
they
the
did.
area. Well, they did, yeah. And that was even interesting because I guess Iran had told who was the
Was it Qatar or Qatar, whatever it's called?
I don't know whether it was them.
Told somebody.
Yeah.
Here they come.
And so they let them know. They let us know. And nobody was injured. We shot down all of them except the one that was off track or
Right.
something. And that was their big retaliation. So everybody was able to do a little posturing. They were able to drop some stuff and throw each other.
Trump's response to that, though, was priceless. He said, what was the exact words? It cracked me up. He said, now that they've got it out of their system.
Yes, he is priceless.
It was just that little
Yeah.
extra oomph. But what's really cool about all this is since that happened, the stocks went up, oil went down, and Trump went off on, well, that was this morning, on Iran and Israel.
Right.
About, come on, start
Right.
living up to what you agreed
Right.
to here. But the
And he was doing the kind of the in-between moderator, I believe, at least acting on our part between the two of them. And I think they were just going to plan to make a media frenzy of them not listening to him. And
probably.
And I see this morning that he took care of that. And
Right.
you're not going to make me the
Bad guy.
ass.
But what's cool is gold. Gold went up.
Mm-hmm.
What else? $65 a barrel on oil now.
Right. He did truth. I believe it was yesterday. It was either yesterday. It was over the weekend. He threw something in all caps. Oil prices better not go up. I'm watching.
Oh, cool.
So
Well, it went down.
Yeah. Surprise! Surprise! Surprise!
So we still don't know what's going to happen with the Strait of Hormuz,
right.
because they were threatening to shut that down. Although it won't affect us at all. It'll affect China big time.
Right.
Oh, that was the other thing. We were just reading the uranium that was enriched. There was like 600 pounds of this stuff. Just poof, gone. Where'd it go?
Right.
So I was thinking about this. Evidently, Iran moved it prior to us blowing them up. So now how did they know we were coming in? Right? Unless they just thought, oh, wait a minute, we're going to get whacked.
Right.
So, but the other night on the news, they were talking about a bunch of Chinese planes landed
Right.
in Tehran. Or
Big
Tehran.
cargo
Right.
planes. Yeah.
So now,
Probably not iPhones.
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, what was the name of this organization? It was called the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. And the Director General, Rafael Mariano Grossi, said his agency does not know where nearly 900 pounds of potentially enriched uranium is located after Iranian officials said it was being removed for protective measures. And, I guess right before that, these Chinese planes showed up. And everybody was scratching their heads like, what are they doing?
What are they
here?
doing
Well,
here?
maybe that was it.
Right. Instead of them bringing in weapons, maybe they were getting out the uranium.
Aha. The plot thickens.
Could be. And I haven't heard boo from everybody was a little bit concerned because the aircraft carriers and the ships, it's not just the aircraft carrier, it's a whole, I don't know what they call it in the Navy, but battalion, or it's not battalion in the Navy, fleet. The whole fleet. There was 3 of them moved over to the Middle Eastern area.
Right. And then those Tomahawk missiles came from a submarine.
Right. So everybody was concerned because Taiwan, they were pulling them out from just being in the area from protected Taiwan from China's possible invasion one day.
Well, I don't think they'll do that now.
No, I think the world has got Trump's message that
I can't wait. I can't wait to go home later, turn on the news, and see what he did at NATO today, at the NATO summit at The Hague.
Right.
I can't wait. Because Spain, he was asking for like 5% more from everybody, right? Now, he did this the last time he was president. He went in there.
Right.
I'll never forget Andrea Merkel when he just laid into her. And so he wants 5% more from everybody that belongs to NATO. And Spain is basically thumbing their nose at it. And this should be really, really interesting.
I have a feeling it's going to be a little different conversation what they may have planned.
Yeah, right.
After this morning.
It should be good.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see what happens. But, I mean, Putin and Zelensky have to be taking notice as well.
You would think.
You know,
That's been kind of quiet.
well, yeah. I think after this morning, because once Iran and Israel are done, who's next?
Well,
Putin,
Ukraine
and Russia. Putin and Zelensky. So they may be drafting their agreement as we speak. You never know.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But American people have had enough funding, you know, everybody but ourselves. And I don't mean ourselves by being selfish. I mean, there's all these tent cities and the veterans sleeping under bridges, and
It's disgusting.
it just has to stop.
We even have that here.
And yeah, no, I know. And all that money going out to these countries that are just throwing it back in our faces. Just got to stop.
Well, I never understood, even as a kid, when we had, you know, European history class or American history, whatever. I never understood why we were sending money overseas. I never understood it. And my I'll never forget, as a little kid, and I'm sure most of you had this happen too, it's like, you better eat your, you know, vegetables because
Right.
there's starving children in, you know, wherever.
Whatever country,
pick,
right.
pick whatever country
Right.
you want. And I always thought about it. It's like, well, wait a minute. How could there be starving kids over in Europe when we're sending them like all this money?
Right. Yeah.
I used to say that to my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she lived with us, my dad's mom, and she'd start with me with that Hungarian accent, and I just look at her and it's like, Grandma, how can they be starving when we're sending them all this money?
And after he came to, then they had to,
Right. She was about this tall and about like this thin,
Right.
you know. But yeah, she was a piece of work. But yeah, even as a little kid, I thought about that. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, they've found a way to suck every frickin' cent they could under our noses out of here, and I believe they're starting to notice that the country is noticing now,
I sure hope so.
because the immigration ICE stuff is not going as planned as far as the legacy media reporting how bad everybody is and showing the grandmas and the Maryland dads and all this stuff. Nobody's buying it anymore. It's, you're here
Well-
illegally, and I'm sorry, but you gotta go.
Well, I beg to differ in that the musical community,
Well, yeah, no, listen.
these people are
yeah.
crazy. I'm serious, and I love you guys. I really do. I mean, you're friends of mine, but it's like, how can you not see this?
Right, but again, even
They think
if-
Trump's nuts with the ICE thing. They actually are calling them the Gestapo.
right. Well, but that's because that's what, you know, I'm sorry, but that's what they're programmed to say.
Well, the crazy mayor in L.A., whatever her name, what's her name?
Bass.
That's it. She looks like a bass, and she does, the big mouth. And
Yeah.
well, anyhow, the bugged out eyes. She looks like a largemouth bass. I think.
Mm-hmm.
My podpinion.
Yes.
But she was saying that she was calling them Nazis and Gestapo, and they're coming in like with masks on and kidnapping people in the middle of the night. It's like, no, they're not.
Right, exactly. But, you know, when you think about it, for the past 4 years, they got away with it. So they're trying, but people have had enough now, and we're not buying. And if that's your thoughts, that's your thoughts. You're free to think it. That's what this part of the world has been grown on, by freedom of speech, and you know, I don't, you know, I'm not offended by anybody speaking it. It's just that now the other side, or the quiet majority, has had enough, and not everybody may be speaking it out loud,
But they're thinking it.
but they're thinking it, and there's no support for it anymore.
All right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. All right. And you can call me weird. You can call me strange. I know I'm weird and strange. But so let's think this through. Common sense. we have a set of laws that the people who were screaming and yelling actually enacted. So all Tom Homan and ICE is doing is enforcing those laws.
Right.
Why is this a problem?
So
The same people that are screaming about it
Right.
are the ones who enacted the laws.
but they found a way to benefit themselves. One party has found a way to benefit from that, and they don't see humans; they see ballots.
No, I get that part. And it's all
So-
about redistricting the congressional districts.
So if you really look at it, that they don't care about the people; they care about being elected. So they want ballots. They don't care where they get them; they just want ballots, and that's why there's homeless on the streets. That's why, they had to clean up California for the Chinese
That was
president
unbelievable. That was
to come in.
unbelievable.
Because,
I have a story about that.
Yeah. Because they're looking at ballots. That's all they're doing is looking at ballots. And when you do that and you're just out for yourself, you're just trying to get elected, you just want the power, you're going to run out of steam at some point. Now, the only way that they can stay in power is to overwhelm the, citizenship, the
Well, it's
citizens
the-
of the
it's
country with laws and
Yeah, but then they don't enforce them.
well, no, what I mean is their laws
Oh.
that they want to change to make this stuff legal. They start degrading the cops. They start, letting the criminals out. So the cops are why am I doing this? Why am I putting my life on
Well,
the line?
my one friend, you know him.
Yeah,
And he's a cop.
Yeah.
And he pulled over a carload of Venezuelan illegals with a car full of drugs and other stuff. And the magistrate let him out on their own recognizance the next day.
Right.
And he's like, why am I doing this?
Right. So that point now, that was all under the radar because we were listening to the legacy media. They weren't reporting that. And
No,
they
of
were
course not. Didn't
reporting
even hit-
something else.
that didn't even
over
go in a
here.
newspaper.
Look over here while
Right.
this is happening over here. And that's how
That didn't
countries
even
are
make the
taking
news.
over. Right. Right.
That's wrong.
and that's on purpose.
Right.
You can't tell me any different.
But the whole thing about the illegals, what you were talking about, it's the congressional redistricting. So
Yes.
they do that when they do the census. They count how many people are in that district or in that state or whatever, that area, whether they're legal or illegal, X amount of people. Okay, we have to redistrict this area because
well, not
this
only
has more-
redistrict, but they
Right.
add representatives.
Right, correct.
Seats. So if California, for instance, loses 2 million illegals,
That's
they're going to lose seats
correct.
because they don't have as many people. I mean, that's the way it works. People have been, citizens have been leaving California in droves. They've been going to Texas, Florida, and all over
Tennessee,
the country,
right.
Tennessee. So California has to make up those bodies somewhere.
In New York, they're all coming here.
Yeah. So that's the game plan. They're trying to just have bodies so that they have seats so that they get elected. And that's it in a nutshell. It's not hard.
No, not at all. I never said it was hard.
No, I know you haven't. But I mean, just it's people, well, I'm not into politics and all this stuff. Well,
You should be.
you should be at least paying attention to what's going on in your area because that's what's happening. And if you don't start paying attention, it's going to overwhelm
Well, okay,
you.
so for example, this area of Pennsylvania we're in, the Poconos, northeast Pennsylvania. So we're, 18 miles from the New Jersey border. Route 80's right there, direct shot from Manhattan. So the pandemic happened. All these people from New York and New Jersey came to the Poconos to get out of the cities, but they stayed, right? They didn't leave. So housing costs and everything went through the roof. So, okay, great. So they're living here. However, I moved here because it was rural. It was still close enough to New York. I could go, back and forth. It's like an hour and a half. So it's not that horrible of a commute and, to work. And But the problem being, they all got out of the city because they hated it, but now they're turning this area into that.
Right. Right.
You look like where I live, and it looks like Route 22 in Union, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible.
Yep. And if you just look back 10 years, it's changed a whole lot up here. And not that change is bad, but if you're trying to leave something, you don't bring those ways up here and expect to be different. That's what is the definition of stupidity or
insanity.
And insanity is doing the same thing
over and over and expecting a different
result. So when we say people are insane, maybe there's a reason. If you think you're going to do the same thing that turned your area into
a shithole,
what it is now, then don't bring it to someplace else and expect different results.
Classic example. I'm members of all these different Facebook groups. So there's one here for the Poconos, for this particular area, actually. So I just read the comments because I commented once and I got attacked. So it's like, no, I'll just see what the the basic feelings are. So there's this huge building boom, as you know. They're like this reconstruction thing, and they're actually turning it into suburban New Jersey, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So all these people on this one particular local Facebook page are saying, well, we need another Popeye's chicken. We need another Dunkin' Donuts. We need another da-da-da-da. We need another one. And I'm thinking, no. That's what you left. If you want that, go back to New York or New Jersey, okay? Everybody that moved up here when I did got here to get away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me nuts.
Yeah, no. And, well, taxes are too high, so we're going to come here where taxes are cheaper.
And now the taxes are going up.
Build everything up, and then the taxes are going to go up. And it's just, nail your foot to the floor and try to run. You just run in a circle.
It's nuts.
It's yeah, no. And, just like we're not that far a difference of opinions on how we want to live our lives. You know what I mean? Podpinions. We want to raise our families. We want to be safe. That's why you're leaving. We understand, but you have to understand that what you left is going to eventually work its way in if you don't change your mind on who you want running your communities. If you have the people running your communities that are mimicking what you left, you're going to get the same thing.
Absolutely.
So,
and what's happening in this area?
Right? No, it's the same thing. It's slowly turning that way. The thing is, I think more and more people are starting to, wait a minute, maybe I did leave it. Because, I've heard some comments around the areas, in the last year or so that they're more to the point of, this is not what we moved here for.
Right.
So I think maybe people are starting to wake up a little bit.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
And it's not just this area. It's everywhere.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the main concern with people leaving California. Well, don't bring your politics with you because politics is politics.
Right.
And it's a dirty freaking game, and they will do whatever they can to win.
Well, my wife went to Tennessee to visit our daughter, right? So she's still there. And she said since the last time we were down there, which was like a year and a half ago maybe, completely different. Because all these people from New York and California moved down to that area where they are, which was, they're just outside of Knoxville, but still, it's more rural on that end of the town. And she said the traffic is like nuts now. It's like worse than here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, that's odd. And then I think about it, and no, it's not. But all the locals down there are complaining about how well, like the same way we are. All these outsiders coming in and they're wrecking the state.
Right. Yeah, and it's just a word game, too. Like, progress. Well, it's progress. Well, what do they name the most radical people? Progressives. Is that by coincidence?
I have a different name for them. But.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with democracy. Yeah.
It's a constitutional republic.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a word play. Democrat, democracy. I don't know whether that's by chance, but I often think that.
I think that's they do that to control the masses.
Yes, I do too.
And if you bring up the fact that we're not a democracy, they lose their minds.
Right. Find me the word democracy in the Constitution.
You cannot.
Doesn't exist.
Right.
Right.
On a different note, boy, moving right along. Nice segue, right?
Yes.
There was I was reading.
Send a Trump player.
Yeah, right.
Different note.
Ooh, nice pun.
Yeah.
So, as I was, while we were setting up and whatnot, I was looking at the news and whatnot online, and this one like blew me away. I couldn't believe it. There's a music festival in France, and there's like 150 people, women only, mind you, getting stuck with needles. People are like walking up to them and sticking them with hypodermic needles, and it said 12 suspects has been detained after all these festival goers got stabbed. And it was the Fête de Mystique, or Musique. And the attacks occurred across the Paris region for this music festival. And it's also happening in England now. They had an uptick in this. So they're not sure if it was like date rape drugs or if it was some kind of weird, biological thing,
or if they were just trying to terrorize people.
Right.
It could be nothing, and they're just terrorizing people to make them
freak
afraid,
out. Yeah.
So
if now there's all this stuff we got to think about, especially like after what just happened this week, is like terror cells. So you really, really have to pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like situational awareness. I mean, I teach a class. It's all about situational awareness. It's an NRA class called Refuse to be a Victim. Not that this is a commercial or anything, because it's not. But the whole thing is situational awareness. It has nothing to do with firearms. So one of the things, for example, I was on a road with a band. I never use public restrooms like the urinals in the men's room. It's too dangerous. So you go in a booth, you lock the door, you're safer, right? Because I was on a road with a band, and one of the trombone players was standing at a urinal. It was like 2:00 in the morning. We're at this truck stop.
And I never knew this until he explained it.
What?
This story.
Oh, yeah, you heard this story, right? So he's standing there going to the bathroom at this urinal, and now his arms are, in front of him holding his private parts. And a guy came up behind, well, actually 2 guys came up behind him and pushed him into the urinal while he's going. So now he can't move his arms. And they robbed him.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
Never thought of that until I heard this story. Yep.
Yeah, so it's something you don't think about. So it's little things like that. And I remember this one class I taught. I asked the people, like, well, what do you do, when you go to work? So this one woman, she would take the train from Hoboken into Manhattan, and then she'd have her earbuds on, and she'd get on the train, go into New York, and then she'd walk to her office. So I said, well, how long is it from the train station to your office? It was like 3 blocks, right? So I said, okay, tomorrow what I want you to do when you go in is take the earbuds out. Don't even look at your phone, and just pay attention to everything that you see on your way from the train station to the office, right? Or even on the train. Don't listen to, just look around. She freaked out. She called me that night, and she said, oh, my God, I cannot believe it. So on the train, there was some, like, crazy lady sitting across from her, like, going off on people, right? that she, evidently is a regular, that she never really paid attention to. And the woman's like nuts. And then as on her walk from the train station to her office, she saw like all these like junkies on the street, people like, she said it was an absolute eye opener. And she was really amazed that she never got mugged.
No, yeah, and the problem is you get into a routine, you get your thing going on, you're paying attention to that, you're not looking around.
Exactly.
Same thing with going into a movie theater or a restaurant or any building, even church. You see all these, things on the news where somebody will come in with a gun or something. I mean,
it's
you
scary.
look for the exits,
But this,
and just so you know where they're at.
But this story with these people, I mean, you're out at a music festival. Like we got a huge jazz festival here in Pennsylvania in the Poconos. Second, there's the week after Labor Day. Like thousands of people show up to this thing. So now you got to worry about some idiot with a syringe going around stabbing you.
Right.
You could just be. I mean, it's like really crowded.
Yeah. And
so just pay attention. That's
yeah.
all I'm saying.
And these days, it's a little different than when we were younger, going to these festivals. I mean, didn't have cell phones. You couldn't text. You couldn't put an earbud in and be talking to somebody on a cell phone.
Right.
And their earbuds a block away saying, look at this one coming down the street.
Right.
So there's...
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
But that kind of really upset me.
Yeah.
Because now, I've been thinking all along when when we bombed Iran the other night, it's like, okay, great. We got all these sleeper cells here that came in the past 4 years or even before then, and they're going to wake up. So this is the kind of stuff we're going to have to worry about.
Right. And the only difference is I don't believe France is very Second Amendment friendly.
No.
So that's the difference about here. You don't know who's carrying. You don't know.
Right.
So that's that little bit of offense that you may not know you have, but that means something.
It does. But still, if somebody just walks up to you and sticks
absolutely,
you with a needle,
absolutely.
that's a little creepy.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting what the law is on that for protecting yourself, and as far as is that a threat to your life?
Well, depends on what they're stabbing. Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. I would think that'd be assault and battery. I would think.
Right. I don't know what they would charge over here, or what they. I mean, I'm sure that it's happened someplace over here.
You would think.
Yeah.
We'll have to look into that. But if anybody knows, put it in the comments below.
Absolutely. Well, do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right.
We'll be right back.
See you soon. Welcome back, everybody. Podpinions is back.
Well, where did we leave off? There's just so much stuff. I mean, like, we can go on and on just about the Iran thing in Israel.
Yeah.
But I heard today one of my favorites as a kid, Bobby Sherman, passed away today at the age of 81.
81.
And he actually gave up the whole performing thing to become an EMT for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Yeah.
Or trainer for the police department.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
It's you hear this and you grow up with these people, and now, I can relate to my parents when they're people that started passing that were, oh, no, not, and it's like, yeah, well.
It sucks.
Yeah.
This growing old thing really sucks.
I don't know who coined the golden years, but
I will never forget golden years story. All right, one of my all-time favorite trumpet players, Clark Terry, and we became very dear friends over the years. And he, the poor guy, he had all kinds of health issues, and he was diabetic. He had a leg amputated. He became blind, and the guy still played his ass off, trumpet player, right? And I will never forget one of the last concerts I saw. They wheeled him out in his wheelchair. He's sitting there with his flugelhorn. He's playing, and he's just like tearing it up. And the guy's blind. I mean, but he just played, and it's just amazing. You just sit there like, wow. So he's talking in between tunes, and he starts talking about the golden years. And here's this guy in a wheelchair. He's missing a leg, And he goes, I got to tell you, the golden years, they suck. I will never forget that. And he warned me, he goes, Richie, one of these days.
Yeah, yeah,
And here we are.
yeah. And you're thinking, and then it's like, yeah, that's way off.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, right around the corner.
But yes, those are the guys, man. I miss him. I really.
Yeah.
He's only died a couple of years ago, but I really miss him. He was funny
Yeah.
and played, and just he. You know, I don't think you get entertainers like him anymore. I mean, the guy, he was an icon. The guy was an absolute, like, jazz icon. And I'll never forget. I was with Maynard Ferguson's band, and we were in Washington D.C. and Clark was at this club on the other side of town. We got done early. It was like we were done like 10 o'clock concert, so we're staying over. And I grabbed a cab and I went over to Blues Alley on the other side of town and catch last two sets of Clark. So I'm sitting there, and so he said, "Hey, what you doing?" It's like, hanging out. He goes, "Come on, let's go out for something to eat." There's a bunch of us, right? So now I have nothing in my hands. Nothing. This man, he's got a trumpet case, like a double trumpet case with a trumpet and a flugelhorn and all his mutes. He's got a briefcase and a clothes bag, right? And here's a jazz icon. So I said, "Clark, let me grab, one of your bags." "Nope." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "These are my tools." And I said, "Yeah, but it's like, nope, these are my tools." He goes, "When a plumber comes to your house, do you go out to his truck and help him drag his stuff in the house?" It's like, "No." And that little thing really made a huge impact on me. And it's like, wow, how cool is this?
Right. Right. Yeah. You don't think of that. Yeah.
No, but I mean, that really made an impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
And the man had like zero attitude, zero, and just a super giving human being, And I miss people like that.
Yeah.
Because they don't exist anymore.
Right.
I mean, very far and few between, but.
Yeah. Yeah, it's become more of a, what can I do for me?
Right.
But
here, what really impressed me, though, it didn't even impress me, it just blew me away, was this guy was a jazz icon.
Right.
I mean, he was a jazz god, and a trumpet god.
Just very down to earth. And
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And to say that, it's like, holy shit. It's like, what planet am I on?
Right, yeah.
But that really, I mean, that was what, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and it still stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, you look at you were talking earlier about the music industry and some of these people out there, and it's like, they can't even comb their own hair.
No.
Somebody else doing it for them, and he's carrying around his tools and
just like, wow.
his suit and whatever, change of clothes.
If you have no idea who Clark Terry is, just Google the guy, or go on YouTube and listen to him play. It's like mind-boggling.
Well, you definitely had some experiences.
Yeah,
with,
I did. Yeah, he was different. I mean, I loved him. He was just an amazing human being. Mm. But he
cool.
actually, and it wasn't just me, but he touched, I can't believe how many people he touched by just his playing and just being, and the role model that he was for people.
Right.
And it's like, forget the trumpet playing. It's like, I want to be like him as the person. What I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because there were so many other guys I worked for that were,
not just fame and fortune. It's
right.
actually,
it's like,
yeah.
You're everything I don't want to be as a human being.
Right.
He actually said that to somebody one time. And it was like, whoa. Needless to say, I didn't last long in that band.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's. I want more people like Clark Terry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things are changing a little bit. We'll get back to some kind of community, kind of family oriented.
Well, that's what it felt like. It was like family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's growing up more, it was more acclimated to that. Whether you worked or hung out or went over a friend's house. I mean, you was over a friend's house. It was, you want to stay for dinner?
Right,
It wasn't even
exactly.
thought about. You know what I mean? It's just, set an extra plate,
Now you're lucky if the whole family sits down at dinner at the
Right,
same time.
exactly. This one's doing this, that one's doing that, this one's working on this shift and that shift, and yeah, it's pretty,
It's sad.
they meet at Denny's, once a month.
Woo-woo. Yeah, there you go. Nice, nutritious dinner.
Yes.
All processed food with plastic in it.
Back to plastics.
Well, I just... Was it with you here? No, maybe it was a commercial I saw on TV or something.
Oh, yes,
About
I did see that.
With the plastic?
Yeah.
They're showing...
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I'm actually eating this crap.
Yeah. No, it's scary. It is scary. I every once in a while, I just get a taste for PBJ sandwich.
That's peanut butter and jelly for those who aren't in the know.
Yeah. And I specifically went out and you got to buy the natural. But also, I was looking for something in a glass jar.
Did you find it?
I did, amazingly enough.
Where?
It was at a local food store up by me.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. So
Because everywhere you go, it's like plastic.
I know. Of course, it's more expensive, but
But but it's not going to kill you.
right.
Well,
Well,
who knows what else is in it, right?
Well, hopefully the more natural stuff is.
Oh,
Better for
have
you.
you ever gone on Facebook and as you're scrolling and whatnot, like you get these commercial pop-up things, right? They're hawking some product. So since I had nothing to do this week, just laying there in bed binge watching the news, and the wife's away, and it's me and the two dogs, and I felt like crap. So I just laid in bed and watched TV, and played on scrolling on my phone and whatnot. So I see this commercial. This woman, I like these cooking things, right? So this woman, I turn the sound up on the thing, I mute the TV, and she's hawking. Well, she's cutting food on a plastic cutting board, right? And then they zoom in and they show you all the particles of microplastics on the food. And she starts talking about how you're ingesting this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Then she does a wooden cutting board. Same thing. And then they zoom in, I guess, with a microscope or something, and they're showing you all the nasty stuff that is in the wood. Right? And it's like, oh, my God, I'm going to hurl.
That's why they promoted the plastic stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So her thing was these were like titanium cutting boards.
Okay.
And they were like real, like sheet metal.
Right.
Like real flimsy kind of things. But she's twisting it and doing all this stuff. Throw it in the dishwasher. It's like safe. It's not. And I was like, wow, I want one of those. And I kept thinking back of like all the plastic stuff we keep talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
But here it was, and they showed this close-up. Now, I don't know if it was AI or if it was an actual picture of the food with plastic particles in it, but it was disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing with the AI. It's if you can pay attention, you can tell right now, but
It's going to get to the point where you can't tell.
10 years from now, you're not going to know.
Well, I'll be dead.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not.
Well, probably. Well, you never know.
We got a lot of podpinions to discuss.
This is true.
Can't get rid of you that quick.
Oh, here, this last one here that we got going. This was your pick,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So this Democrat who's running for mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, he's an anti-Semitic. He's an anti-Semitic Democrat running for mayor of New York against Andrew Cuomo. There's a choice.
Yeah.
And what's his name? The current mayor. What's his name? Adams, isn't it?
Yeah, Mayor Adams. Yeah.
So he's being touted by Bernie Sanders and AOC.
Yes.
This guy.
Yes. Vote for anybody
But this dude.
but this guy. Just get out and vote. You got to get. I know Cuomo, understand, but you got to get out and vote. Don't let him get elected.
This guy's bad news. He was raised as an anti-Semite because this is according to this article. But if you listen to the guy speak, it's like scary.
Mm-hmm.
And he started protesting against Israel right after Hamas did their terror attack on October 7th in 23.
Mm-hmm.
He's out there on the streets of New York screaming and yelling, kill the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And here he's running for mayor of New York.
Right. And, I'm just tired of it. I don't believe the people of Israel or Iran or the people of Gaza are the bad people.
No, it's the people that are running those countries.
The people that are in charge are hyping all this up and making the plans and doing the terror attacks and throwing the bombs, and these innocent people are getting sucked up into this stuff, just like here. And they're the ones that have to pay the price while everybody that's in charge sits back and watches. And they make money on the munitions and the rockets and the Kevlar vests and Humvees and whatever they have, the guns, and it's just enough. And we're on to you now. We're freaking on to you. So you need to back off because your stuff isn't penetrating like it did before. It's
no, but they're going to try harder.
Well, yeah, and let them try harder because that's going to wake more people up, I believe.
Hopefully.
Because it's just...
Like this guy, his father is a professor of anthropology at at New York's Columbia University. And he's an anti-Israel, anti-Jew, protester.
Right. So what does that show you? It's just we have a country that you're free to speak your mind, and unless you are on one side right now, you're not allowed to speak your mind. At least that's the way it was.
Well,
things are changing now. Where
a little bit.
Now it's going to be equal all around, just like going in and the congresswoman that got charged with.
Oh, I love that.
You're
talking about the one in Newark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's finding out that things are changing now.
Hopefully. I hope to God
Yep.
that the judge does not let her off easy.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see. But the grand jury indicted her.
Which is nice.
Yep. So we'll see. But at least that's an example that things are changing. And at some point, once the snowball starts rolling down the hill, it's going to get bigger and
bigger
and faster. So
I'm just hoping, I'm hoping to God that people wake up before the midterms.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the Democrats take control of the House and the Senate, it's all over.
Right. Well, Trump's setting the example right now. It's not about Iran and it's not about Israel. It's about us, United States of America. We're not putting up with this anymore.
Right.
You're acting like two spoiled brats, and you just got to stop and make peace and live your lives. Stop messing with each other, and let's just everybody. You don't have to love each other. You just have to
get along
on the same planet here. We're all together here, so knock it off. And that was his message this morning, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty as a matter of fact.
Yep. It's not a choice of one side or the other. He's pissed at both, and we did what we did to protect us. That's what he did.
Right. Because
that's what we're here to do, and we've been outsourcing all this money. It's like you're making. It's like just pumping money out to, whether it's your kids or a family member that just doesn't get it and is always back there for more, no matter what they do, that's what we've been doing to the world. And it's time to stop.
Well, I think that's why with this NATO thing that he's asking for 5% more from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what's going to happen.
And they should chip in more. They should.
Absolutely.
You know. And, you know.
Why is it our responsibility to pay for all these people?
Because, not for nothing, they just look at us as a cash cow. We are the greatest country in the world. We are the richest country in the world.
Well, not right now we're not.
Well, even with everything going on, you know, life isn't so bad here.
No.
You know, and we gotta fix some frickin' potholes that we let go, and you know, across the political sphere here,
and sinkholes on Route 80 in New Jersey.
Don't build a highway over a mine.
Mines. Now, if you haven't watched a previous episode of this show, New Jersey, which I'm sure you've heard about, is having issues with sinkholes. And we're not talking little ones.
Right.
We're talking ones that will swallow a tractor trailer. So back in the day, I hate that phrase, but back in the day, we're talking 1700s, that whole area of northern New Jersey was known as, and still is, Mine Hill.
Yes.
Now, this should kind of clue you in. Mine Hill. We're not talking landmines.
Right.
We're talking like mines that they
Underground.
take ore and whatnot
Right.
out of, right?
If you wonder how, you know, look at if any of the Revolution buffs, New
Correct.
Jersey, Pennsylvania, the ore,
Yep.
and you know,
Right.
yep.
So this Rockaway, that Bud Lake, that whole area there, right, is all mines deep underground, going back to the 1700s. They're still there. What did this stupid government do? They built a highway on top of these old mines,
Right.
some of which they don't even know, like, how far they go under the ground, right? So now I remember as a kid, we used to ride our dirt bikes up and down the highway as they were building it. We'd get up to like Randolph, Rockaway area, and they would have these like collapses like where they were building the highway. Why? 3 guesses. Now you would think that during construction they were having this issue. Why would they continue building over these mines, knowing that there's going to be a problem?
Or at least explore or fill them in or do
Something, right? But no, that would be way too simple. So now, fast forward 50 years, right? And here, Route 80 is collapsing, and there's huge sinkholes. So now you go south on 287, going down towards like Basking Ridge. You have to look, if you're not from Northeast New Jersey, you're not going to know where any of these places are. So from where the sinkholes are on Route 80, you go south on 287. There's sinkholes on 287 now, because I tried going to a gig one day. I had to go 80, and I thought, I'll go that back way and come up 287, right? And it's like all of a sudden I hit bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's like, what's this all about? It's like a sinkhole on 287. Now there's also ones on the Garden State Parkway.
Amazing.
Who was the Einstein that designed this highway?
Well, they weren't looking at that. They were looking at the budget and their profit.
It's just mind-numbing.
And they just wanted to forget that and get paid.
It's amazing nobody got hurt
oh, yeah, no.
or killed.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what?
My question is, especially this one on 80, they're projecting it's going to be repaired and fixed and next, I don't
Jalember?
Yeah. Once they fix that,
Then
what else is around?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it is
They don't know.
Mine Hill.
And there are no maps of where these old mine shafts are.
Right.
So I was thinking about this. It's like, okay, so back when 80 first opened, traffic is moving all the time, so it's not like you have all this weight sitting there. But now,
with the congestion,
with all the congestion in
Morning,
that one area,
rush hour,
it's like bumper to bumper traffic, just sitting for like hours at a time, and we're talking billions of pounds of weight.
All you have to do is remember, I don't know how long ago, it's got to be 15, 20 years now, the HOV lane.
Oh, remember that?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Great fun.
Sitting in traffic for hours upon hours.
And people would actually get mannequins because you could, if you had more than two people or two or more people, you could get in the HOV, high occupancy vehicle lane,
right,
and just whoosh.
Right.
So people that lasted about what, a year? Not long.
Yeah, it was like right after they opened it, then they
because everybody was scamming it.
Right.
I did too, but I think everybody did. But I still can't believe that the highway was not designed to hold all that weight.
Right.
Like just sitting there.
Well, again, they didn't estimate that, there was going to be that traffic and, the horseless carriage was going to take off.
Yeah. The horse and buggy.
Yeah.
So it's mind-numbing, though. It really is. Because they saw this when it was under construction. Mm-hmm. So how could they even let it get this far?
Right. No, I totally agree. It's like it just has to do with profitability and,
It's just, wow. Yeah, so it's still, they don't know when it's going to open. And I can't wait. I mean, I just refuse to go that way anymore. Yeah. I just can't deal. Because I'm afraid something else is going to, open up.
And thank goodness nobody's gotten hurt. That was my first concern, is how many cars got swallowed up in the hole.
And this thing was huge. Yeah. I mean, gigantic.
Well, it shut down both lanes eventually. At first it was just the one side.
Yeah, then it went.
Then it crossed over and shut both lanes down, or both east and west. So,
oops. Anyhow, that's my rant for the day, but I got a million of them. And now there's also a Hepatitis A outbreak in Europe.
Oh, joy, joy, joy.
So over 2,000 cases, and a bunch of people died so far. And this has been going on evidently since January.
Wow.
So from the report that I read, it said something to the effect of they're not sure if it's due to bad needles, with the drug community sharing needles, or if it's from bad sanitary conditions in restaurants.
Okay, so here's my take on this.
Your Podpinion?
Well, not necessarily Podpinion, but my question. If you could take a Q-tip, swab it in your mouth, put it in a container, ship it off someplace, and they can send you back a report of every frickin' ethnic or history of your gene pool.
Yeah.
How can they not tell where this came from?
Good point.
Right? I mean, maybe they need to
good point.
Swab somebody's, and send it out. I just find this just ridiculous.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
but it can be deadly.
Where they can't find out what's going on, and it's happened since January. Nobody knows.
They must, or
they don't want to know. I don't know, but it's just very suspicious.
Is this another thinning of the herd?
You never know. You never know. It's who knows. But I don't believe they can't tell where it came from.
Well, it's like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like what I have now.
Right.
I mean, having this bronchitis thing, where did I get it?
Right. And
I have a suspicion.
Right. But still, why, if the flu vaccine every year, you get a new one, how long has the flu vaccine been around? Shouldn't the flu be gone by now?
Well, according to the people at the drug company over here,
mm-hmm.
Who work on flu vaccines, it mutates every year.
Mm.
So my question to them is, like what you're saying. So if it mutates, okay, great. But then how do you know which vaccine to make.
Right.
If the thing mutates, so you're coming out with this vaccine before the strain of flu even comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But
I know I don't get a flu shot.
common sense says at some point you should be able to catch up to it.
You would think.
I mean, you look at like some of these other diseases that are now starting to come back. You know, at one point they were stopped. So,
Yeah, like bubonic plague.
right. And that's
There's
antibiotics, right?
I don't think there was a vaccine for that one.
No, I believe it's antibiotics for that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, what we should do, I'll have to make some phone calls,
Yep.
and we'll get one of the guys from over there
Okay.
to come on and
See
tell us.
if we can do. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
See if he
I'd
can
be
on.
really interested in that because it's just
Because that's what he do.
right. Because there's questions, and it'd be nice to have somebody actually have some answers that make sense instead of, well, we don't know. It's been since January and we don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'll call our buddy that works at that
Okay.
particular place
Mm-hmm.
and see if he'll come in one night.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Be very cool.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten into it with him a couple times about it, but we never went the whole gamut of how this works.
Right. Right.
I mean, he tells me, well, take a chicken egg and we do the,
Yeah.
But, how do they come up with which strain are they going to have a vaccine for?
Right. And is there like a press conference for the flu?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's time to mutate. I mean, how does it know?
Yeah, how does it know? Yeah, I don't get it.
Yep.
But that's interesting. And then that atomic energy thing, that 900 pounds of missing uranium.
Oh, yeah. But they know it's missing.
Yes.
So if they know it's missing, they knew where it was.
So where'd it go?
Where'd it go? How do they not track it if they can track it where it is?
Well, my guess, there was a story on the news that they were talking about. There was a bunch of trucks that went to the one place that got bombed, and they were there for a couple hours, and then they left. So they're thinking that possibly those trucks had the uranium on it. They were cleaning out the one place. However,
So they have scopes that mount on a rifle that you can see a coyote 300 yards out
Right.
in the pitch black.
Right.
They can't tell.
I have one on
They,
one of my
they can't
rifles.
tell.
Of course they can. They must. So my guess is the Chinese planes that showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Those trucks were taking them to the airport to load them onto those Chinese cargo planes.
Right.
I could be wrong,
Could be.
but that's my podpinion.
Yep. And that other than if somebody else has some other things to kind of go against that podpinion, we'd love to hear it. But
Conspiracy theory, if
Yes.
you want to call it that.
we need more. It's just
What, more conspiracy
Yeah,
theories?
we're out.
Let's make some up.
Yeah. We are fresh out, so we need some more.
I think we
so.
should start some rumors. What do you think?
Oh, and do you remember I know you were in jazz and that, but back, when there was a band, Bananarama,
Yeah, I remember them.
Cruel Summer.
Yeah.
Remember that song? Well, that just happened. It was released, I believe it was last week, 42 years ago.
Really?
If you didn't feel old enough, look at that up. Look at it's just growing up in that period, watching the music video, and just brings back some memories. And
Remember when MTV actually played
music,
videos?
right?
Ooh.
That was the thing to do. You watched MTV, you watched Saturday Night Live. Everybody got together when that was good, and there was a lot of good memories. But 42 years, come on.
Now I really feel old.
Yeah,
I felt
exactly.
bad. I felt old before.
Right.
Now I feel worse.
I know, right?
This getting old thing is really bad. Don't do
The
it.
golden years suck.
They do. Anyhow, I think we should wrap it up.
Yep.
What do you think?
Sounds good. All right.
So we're going to go home, turn on the news,
Yep.
see what's happening at NATO,
Yep.
at the NATO summit in The Hague.
See if there's any bleeps.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. You got to go see. You got to go watch the Trump video. You have to. Actually, put it on it. Put
cracks
it on
me
the
up-
intro on our show.
What cracks me up is you could tell that nobody in the control room, they were probably drinking coffee, eating a bagel or a croissant or
Paying
something,
attention.
watching Trump make a speech. Nobody had their finger on the bleep button. The delay, where they have like a
Yeah,
7-second delay.
Yeah. Oops.
He caught them all off guard. It was great.
It was priceless. And it was just as a matter of fact, and then he went onto the helicopter
Yeah.
and off he went.
That's it. Yeah.
It was great.
Yep.
So we'll see you next
All
time.
right. Have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Slam the follow button. This is Podpinions.